It Ends With Us movement empowers women to heal from relationship traumas and break generational cycles. We aim to create an ongoing platform for education, collaboration, and awareness, uniting industry experts and other nonprofits to support communities affected by emotional abuse and domestic violence. Together, we are creating a movement where women support women, where we learn to recognize our worth, and where we commit to ensuring that the traumas we experienced stop with us. We are stronger together, and together we can end these cycles. Hi, my name is Dana Ropo. Welcome to my podcast, Soul Purpose, Healing Beyond Your Scars. Today, I'm going to share with you why I'm here today on this podcast and why I started my nonprofit organization called It Ends With Us movement, bringing more awareness to domestic violence, emotional abuse, and breaking generational cycles. So I'm going to start off by saying, this a very common quote we all hear: everything happens for a reason. Yet it's a common quote that is so common, but so questioned by many people. Like, why do things happen? A lot of times good things happen in our life, which we're joyful and happy. And then there's the bad things or the things that are so painful that bring suffering to our lives. So it gets questioned a lot. Why do these things happen? So, we walk through life and we meet so many different people. We experience different things for a reason. The universe has its timing, and I feel that people do connect with you sometimes out of mere coincidence, similar to me meeting the studio owner of this podcast studio, and now I'm sitting here today sharing my story with you. So we meet people by coincidence. I feel like it's just about the right timing and when we need it in our lives. And I'm here today to really share my story to spread awareness, not only spread awareness, but also to bring helpful tools that I've learned in my experiences to people that they may need to hear and listen to. So even if I help one person, I'm happy about that. But I think that my story needs to be heard. It's so common, and we live in a society today that we have so much education and awareness that we really need to utilize it and change for the better. We have our next generation, our children, and our next generation really that has the tools at their fingertips on their phones. And I see every day, and ever since I started my nonprofit, I'm seeing more and more people experience and come to me and share their stories. So I'm going to start by sharing my story, and then I'm going to share the impact and what I'm doing and why my purpose, what my purpose is for my podcast and my nonprofit organization. So I'm going to take us back to just me as growing up as a child. I was born and raised in Chicago. I grew up in an Italian Catholic family. My parents were immigrants from Italy, and I had a healthy family. I have a brother and older brother, and it grew up in a great neighborhood. Had a lot of friends. My parents had a lot of friends, so I was always around family and kids and parties and celebrations and sports and everything. So great growing up childhood. I went to a good school, and during my childhood, I met friends in school, and I met this boy in school, and I went through grade school with him, and I disconnected with him for 4 years. He went to a different school, and I didn't see him, and we reconnected right before my senior year of high school. And the reason why I'm kind of taking you back to how my life started really is because you think that because you go to school with someone, you're with them every day, you're friends with them, you know them. Just like we, go to work with people every day now in our adulthood. you don't really know what's going on in their mind. You don't really know what's going on at home. So I didn't. I really didn't know what was going on with him. I only saw him at school, so I didn't know what was going on in his family life and his mind and his thoughts and how he looked at life. Like, we never talked about that. We never talked about those kinds of things. We just grew up together. And then before my senior year in high school, I never would have expected things to happen like they did. I was happy I was going to go away to college. I was planning on or going to college in the city, and I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to go into finance. So I knew my goals. I was very goal oriented. I was very career driven, and I just had my mindset. And then he came back into my life and wanted to date me, and so we dated, and it was a short relationship, and it was a relationship that I could have never imagined me being in, but life brought me again, connected us for a reason. I'm not sure what that was, but we think about life and how things happen, and things could turn and you don't even realize it. And I was dating him for 6 months, and it was a lot of lies, a lot of manipulation, controlling. I thought, this guy's my friend. I didn't think that, I thought, okay, he has his good days and his bad days, but then I started to realize he really has an issue, and I have to step back and allow him to take care of that. And I didn't realize the impact of what he was doing and how it could impact his life with everything, with his family life and who he was hanging around with and the things he was doing. It was just not healthy for him at 18 years old. I told him that you need to change things in your life if you want to get better. And the compassion came from my heart, and I said, you're either going to end up in jail on the street or, dead by the track that he was going. And I didn't want to see him that way, but I couldn't be, said I could be here for you as a friend, but I can't see you go in this path. And, I just grew up life always trying to, I would say, care for others and make sure everyone else is okay. And it's just the way that I was raised and kind of put into my head that, we got to treat others right. We got to make sure that you're doing the best that you can. You got to be best. You got to be the best. And I just always grew up that way. And I wanted to see the best in other people. But I really never took the time, I would say, to love myself. And I was 17 years old at the time, but you go through your different stages of life and growing up. But I put so much time and effort into caring for other people, and especially him, a childhood friend that I cared about, and I didn't want to see him in that path. But it just the insecurities, the jealousy, the controlling, a lot of the things started coming up, and I all the red flags in an unhealthy relationship that you can see I saw in him. So at the time, I didn't realize, that's his issues. It's not me. At the time, I thought, all right, maybe I'm not the one. I'm not okay. I'm not the one that's right for him. I'm going to move on. So I did, and I thought it was over, and I was moving on with my life. And it didn't go that way. I realized I did not even realize what was going to happen, but I broke up with him, and he didn't like it. And he basically planned to come to my house and see me one night, and I wasn't home. And my mom had called me and said, you have to come home. And I said, why? And she said, well, he's somewhere on our street and he came here to see you. His mom called my house and dropped him off, and now he's somewhere and you have to come home. So I came home. And as I was coming home, I was expecting him to come out somewhere. But I went to go lock my door and I pressed my window instead. And he came, I was driving on my street and he came and I seen him like waving his hands in my rearview mirror, and he came into my car and jumped in my car and said, it was very frantic, and he just kept on, confessing his love for me, telling me how much he loved me, he wanted to be with me. And again, I went back and said, you have to get your life together. I told you, we already talked about this. And he just knew that I wasn't gonna, I could only take so much, and I wasn't gonna take it anymore. And he asked me to drive him home, and I said, sure, I'll drive you home. So I drove him home. So not thinking anything that was gonna happen, I drove him home. And as I was driving, he looked at me and he asked me why I'm so scared of him. And I said, I'm not scared. And didn't know where that came from, but I seen him like messing around on the side of his pocket, and I thought, okay, for sure he's trying to hide something from me. And as I was driving closer to his home, we were at the corner driving to his house, and I turned on the light to ask him what he was doing. And he took out a knife and started stabbing me. And he kept stabbing me. And at that moment, the only thing I can do was to say, I love you, to stop. And he just kept going. He kept going. As I was protecting my face, he cut my face on the side of my face, and my whole mouth dropped, and my throat was cut. My heart was hit, blood everywhere, and I just had no clue what was happening. I thought my life, this is it. Like, I just didn't realize the pain because I was in shock, and he kept going, and my eyes were covered in blood. I could not see, and I just kept saying, I love you, for him to stop, and he just wouldn't stop. And this car came on the side of the road, and this was a summer night during the week. I mean, the likelihood of this car coming down that road was slim to none. And that car saved my life. That car was sent by God. I don't know, but that car saved my life. And he got scared, and he said, drive the car. And I said, I just said to myself, how am I going to drive this car? My finger was almost severed from my hand, and I couldn't speak, I couldn't see. And I drove the car around the corner, and he used two hands to put the car in park because my foot wasn't on the brake. And when I turned to look at him, I seen that his hands he dropped the knife. And I looked at him, and I literally had my life flash before my eyes, and I remember seeing everyone in my life in one room, and I seen my grandfather's face, like right in my face, like basically pushing me to get out of this car. And I ran. I ran to his house. His mom opened the door. I banged on his door, and his whole family was there. And I banged on the door, and she answered, and I collapsed in her arms. I walked 2 steps, and I collapsed in her arms. And in that moment, I thought my life this is it. It was over. Minutes later, I remember paramedics coming in, taking me into the ambulance, and they asked me, who did this to you? And I told them I was coherent the entire time, and I remember everything that happened the entire night. And I told them who did this to me, and from that moment, I saw the brightest light And I woke up and I saw all my family and friends crying in front of me. But at that moment, I knew I'm here to stay. Like, I'm going to live. And I wanted to tell everybody to stop crying, but I couldn't because I had a tube in my throat. So I wanted to tell everybody, but they were crying, and the priest that was at my grade school that we both went to was there saying prayers over my head, and I just was shaking my head, and I didn't know what to say. But a couple days later, I was able to get the tube out of my throat and actually speak and share my story. And I shared everyone the same story. But then a couple days later, after I was able to stand up, I went into the mirror, and I was so happy. I was so happy to actually be standing there and be alive. I survived being stabbed 18 times in my heart, my lungs, my head, my face, my hands, everywhere in my body. And I survived. So I was happy, and I smiled. And at that moment, I realized I couldn't smile. The knife wound to my face caused my nerve to be cut in my face and caused nerve damage, which affected my eye, my nose, and my mouth functioning in my face. So it did affect me to not be able to smile. And at that moment, that was really hard. This person got to live and survive and smile, and he took my smile away. And it took a lot of years of healing, of physical, mentally, of healing. And I feel like the whole time I was like, I'm going to go away to college. I'm going to go back to college. I had a scholarship, and after 6 months of therapy and therapy with my physical therapy with my hands and everything that I did, I said, I'm going to go to college and I'm going to finish on time. And I went to college. I just focused on school. I focused on my career. I just focused so much on, okay, I'm going to move on with my life. I'm going to get my life going. And throughout the years, I mean, that's 24 years ago. So throughout all those years, I was in different relationships, and I found myself getting into some of the same type of relationships. And then again, I asked myself why. And that was a turning point in my life, was when I became a mother. And it was a turning point in my life where I had to make some changes that even changed my life even more. And when I did that, I had to seek help. We need to seek help. We need support. Sometimes you go through life and you think that everything's going great, and things start to happen, or you start to handle things start to trigger you in different ways. And I told myself, I don't know why this is happening to me. I need to go seek help. And I reached out to a friend to seek some help through some of her struggles. And I went to talk to somebody. And it was a different type of therapy that really got me to think and get grounded with my childhood. And it was very different from anything that I thought. I thought therapy was, there's a stigma on therapy, like you sit across the room with somebody and you start to talk and tell them your life story. And I did that and wasn't successful because I share my story with so many people that ask or that just comes up, and it just wasn't successful. And later on in life, when I did go see it, they got down to the root of why this was happening. And everything that we go through in life in our adulthood stems from our childhood. And even if it's the littlest trauma, could be you're moving away, you change schools, you change houses, whatever. The littlest trauma could affect you. But then there's big trauma, like There could be a divorce when you're going through as a child. There could be deaths in the family, maybe one parent, just anything that you go through as a child, whether it's big or something like what I went through. I mean, even what I went through at 18 years old, I that moment in my life, it just did not feel. I felt like I got over that so quickly. It wasn't that big traumatic thing that really affected my life. It was the little things that happened growing up as a child, just me trying to just be someone I'm not, right? I didn't really, if your parents are a certain way, like you just grow up like you're not your authentic self. And so I wasn't. I grew up, just kind of trying to get through school, following the timeline of life. Like you got to go to school, get good grades, do all these things. Like that's what my parents ingrained in me because that's all they knew. They didn't know like to talk about feelings or talk about what was going on in your mind. And we never did any of that. So like I never got to do that with my parents. So in a lot of adults my age, didn't do that with their parents. So now we're realizing that things happen in our life and we're trying to figure out like why they're happening. But I took a lot of time to heal myself and understand the reasons why maybe that I got myself in these relationships. And it opened my eyes to a lot. And I feel like now in my life, my perception on life is very clear and I'm able to see things and people go through their struggles through a different lens. God kept me here for a reason, and I survived for a reason. Whether it was to put him away because he was going to hurt somebody else, I don't know. I don't know why I went through a lot of anger. There's different stages when things bad happen in your life. You go through anger. Why does it happen? And then you have to work on yourself and really focus on you. So my perception on life is very clear. And people come into your life for a reason when they need you most. And I feel that this was my time. This was my time now to share my story and really help people get through their struggles as well. Again, everyone has their time. Everyone has their moments and when they're going to do something about it. So I'm not here to change people's lives. I'm here to really just bring awareness to the issues and help the everyday person. So with this podcast, I'm going to bring in different experts, maybe different people that have shared their similar stories that have gone through trauma or gone through emotional abuse or physical abuse. I'm also going to bring some experts that helped me through my healing journey and different tips to really kind of guide people. Never know, it could help somebody, and that's my purpose. That is really my sole purpose here. And healing beyond your scars. When I say that, it's like, although I have physical scars, there are, it's the emotional scars that you have to heal, the scars within. And there are so many people experiencing this. So 1 out of 3 women experience domestic violence and 1 out of 7 men experience domestic violence. It is a very common issue. And the issue is like, why did that abuser do that? Why are they choosing to abuse and treat someone so wrong? And it comes from their childhood traumas. And why did the person being abused accept that behavior? Because it's unacceptable. And we should not accept to be treated wrongly. No one should be manipulated, put down, tried to, disrespect. It's just unacceptable. We are humans put on this earth by the same creator, and we should treat each other kindly and go through life and learn from our experiences. But for the people who don't want to heal and don't take the time to really put the work in, we can't help those people. And those people have to really work at it. And you have to know yourself. Like, as long as you put in the work in yourself, you love yourself, and you're living your authentic self, that's what matters most. Even if you're in a relationship now, it's just important to put yourself first and make sure that you're doing everything that you can to do what you want in life. We have one life, and I got a second chance. So me starting this nonprofit organization has really brought light to a lot of people. Since I started last year during Domestic Violence Awareness Month, again, I met another human, beautiful soul by coincidence, and I met her, and her niece died of domestic violence, and we connected. And I said, I want to do this. And she said, all right, let's do this. And I created this event to raise money and awareness for domestic violence. And we put this event together and raised over $15,000 to donate to different organizations that help women and men through domestic violence situations. So my nonprofit organization started from there, again, out of coincidence. I said, I'm going to do this, and I want to get back into it. So I got licensed in domestic violence to speak to survivors. And, when we say survivors, I call myself a victor. A victor is someone who's gotten through that victory. And I'm here to not just survive. I'm here going through life as a victor, as someone who is here to help other people and striving and really teaching my son the same values and teaching others the same values that I've learned. So with this connection that I made, I formed a nonprofit, and it's going in. I don't know what direction it's going to go into, but what we're doing is to create different types of events and support for women that are going through any type of trauma or emotional. It's not just for domestic violence, but it's to bring awareness to breaking the cycles and making sure that we are full in ourselves, we're whole, so that way we can teach the next generation the right movement and really go into talking about their feelings and sharing their thoughts, because we can prevent a little boy or a little girl from doing something that little boy did to me, and we can prevent suicides and different things that happen in our lives that we hear every day. And it all takes time, and it all takes work and putting into yourself. And anyone listening, anyone who needs to hear it, again, like, you don't have to go through something so traumatic like I went through. Like, emotional abuse happens every day. I see it in so many relationships, and whether you're the man or the woman, it happens. And it really is unacceptable, and it comes from a deeper issue, and we just need to bring more awareness to it. So whether you need the help, maybe a friend, the goal is to help other people and bring awareness to this, and create a community in an environment where you feel comfortable talking about things. I'll tell you, since I've started my nonprofit, and since I've shared my story with more people that don't know who I am, people have come to me with their issues and what they're going on in their life. And when you're in it, it's tough to get out. It is. It's not an easy battle. But what my goal is to educate parents. If you're a parent now, how can we prevent this from happening to the next generation, to our kids, our children, our teenagers? We need to prevent it. And then us as adults, we need to heal ourselves to just break the cycle of this generational trauma that our parents went through growing up, that they didn't really know a lot of the things that we went through. So you can reach me on my Instagram, through my website, or, just by contacting someone that knows me. Again, this is an environment, a community to bring people together and be comfortable sharing their stories. When you share your story, you can impact someone else and you can get help. There's so many people that I've connected with just by my nonprofit. Like I said, things happen as coincidence. So many beautiful souls that I've met doing this. So don't fear sharing your story. Don't fear anything in life. Be yourself, be authentic, and hopefully this podcast brings a light to your life. And if you're listening, and also, I will be sharing a lot of different events on social media that I'm doing for women for now. But again, I'm going to be doing in October a fundraiser to raise awareness for domestic violence, and it's so important to put that work into you before you start any relationships. And I wish I had the knowledge and the awareness that I do today. But again, my experience shaped who I am today, changed my life forever. But I'm here to hopefully help other people so they don't have to go through what I endured in my life. And I pray for the people that are suffering, because those people that do those type of acts have very dark souls that never get healed and maybe never get a chance to heal. So again, there's so many resources, and I have also access to different nonprofit organizations that I've been involved in that give us so many resources for childhood trauma, adolescence issues, anything you're going through. There's some group or something that will support you. So you are not alone, and we have to remember that you are not alone. Thank you. My next podcast, I'll be sharing again different experts, and I'll share different stories of people that have gone through trauma. But my goal here is to just bring awareness to different people that can help you, that have helped me, and also share different stories that maybe you need to listen to change your direction in your life for the better. Thank you.